Hello, friend. Welcome to another episode of the Mount Rushmore of Everything. Today, we are talking about Pixar Villains.
Villains!
To me, this is the easy, non-negotiable, maybe even non-negotiable of non-negotiables. Easily a step above anything else on the list. That's Syndrome.
Really?
Yeah.
I have Syndrome as my number one. That was the one my mind went to.
Yeah, it's the iconic villain of villains as far as Pixar goes. I think it's helped by the fact that it's a super villain, right? And when you think villains, if I just say the word villain, usually what comes to people's minds are like the super villains of like comic book heroes. Yeah. So that it's probably assisted by that. Also, it's just exactly what you said. It's what you think of when you think Pixar villain. Almost everybody I talked to, I said Pixar villains. It was Syndrome, and then pause before they could figure out some of the other ones. Yeah. Also, number one on all the best of lists. Number one, I think most well-known and most popular. Easily, I think, as well, because this one is one of those that there's less stuff to go off of as far as stats go. So I had to break down into okay, what do I think are the important things that go into a Mount Rushmore of a Pixar villain? And I actually put actual greatness in there as a part of what I'm considering. Now, we're defining actual greatness here, or I'm defining it as how good of a villain were you? Not how famous are you, but were you an actually compelling villain, right? There are lots of villains that look cool. There are lots of villains that may be iconic. For me personally, I think it's easily top 3 best villain. Also, I thought was relevant, try to find some creative ways to look into this. There is a Pixar Villains wiki. And as you may know, wikis often have trending pages, which is based on what people are searching for the most now. So that can be skewed towards more modern things. But Incredibles, and specifically the Incredibles movie that Syndrome is in,
the original.
It's a long time ago now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's closer to the first Pixar movie than it is to the latest one.
Yeah.
And he was number 1 on trending still.
Right.
So
there you go.
I thought from all angles, Syndrome was an easy pick.
Yeah, I agree with that, totally. After that, it gets muddy.
I agree.
It gets so muddy.
I agree. I think we're going to at least agree on one more, but I agree.
All right, let's see. Here's my pick. Again, I don't know if I would say non-negotiable.
Sure.
I would go with Syndrome as the non-negotiable, but then these next ones are, again, just take your pick, and this is just what I think. Again, where does my mind go when I think the villains of Pixar? So the next one after Syndrome that came to my mind is Sid.
Okay,
the neighbor.
Agree.
You agree?
Agree. Yep.
It's hard to find them because they are not obvious. These are not movies that they emphasize, this is the bad guy, and they put the music or the smoke or whatever they use, device they use. No, it's very subtle. And the one that started the whole thing, here's the bad guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he even has a black shirt with
a skull on
it. And he's just blowing up toys in a movie that's about toys.
Yes.
So
shockingly dark.
Yes. So I think it's pretty obvious, just because this one was the first one, the first movie, and the first antagonist, and the first very successful computer animated full feature movie. I give him a Mount Rushmore status.
I agree. For me, I think that first cred is what gives him that tiebreaker edge against some other ones that I considered. Also, there's something to be said for sometimes antagonists and or villains, which, by the way, I don't think we're discounting antagonists in this list. We're calling it villains, but an antagonist that's not technically a villain could still make this list for what it's worth. But antagonists and villains can sometimes play a huge role in a movie, and sometimes it's really not that huge of a role. But Sid is truly important to the plot of that movie. He's important to the iconicness of the movie. I think he's just a hugely important character.
All right, 2 for 2.
2 for 2. This is another one that I actually have it marked as non-negotiable, but I don't know if it's so much non-negotiable as there's enough of a drop-off at some point that it feels like it becomes non-negotiable. Not off of its own merits, so much as it's hard for me to find something to go in the spot over this character, and it's Randall from Monsters.
Oh, I have forgotten about Randall. I don't have him in my list, but I would say, yeah.
As far as appearance goes, because appearance has to be a factor here, right? If people don't even remember what the villain looks like, to me that's points against. If people don't remember, what was their name? That's points against. Everybody remembers Randall's name for the most part, especially, again, given, like, this is the 4th movie, I think, that they ever made. So it's going way back, and yet it's still one that people mention a lot. It's number 1 on Ranker, even to this day, which is somewhat... It's not important to me so much as, like, it gave some level of, like, okay, this is a popular character. Because I got the idea that it was popular. It feels like a character that people always love. But there aren't too many polls out there, surprisingly, of people's favorite Pixar villains. He wasn't even necessarily the big bad of the movie, but yet it feels like more of the main antagonist than what the big bad actually was. Is the only Pixar villain to play a relatively significant role in 2 different movies, because all the other Pixar villains were one and done, or they had like a cameo role. Randall was a clear main antagonist in one and fairly significant character in another, even if he's not the antagonist the whole time. He's the only Pixar villain to do that. It just feels to me as well that he's one of the few villains that sort of transcends the movie he's in. I feel like he's iconic, like his appearance and him is iconic even without the context of the movie. But as far as Pixar goes, I thought Randall was pretty high on that list.
Yeah. Well, very good. 2 for 3.
2 for 3.
You ready for the next one?
Yeah, I'm curious.
I'm going to go for this one with another Toy Story.
Okay.
Lots of hugs.
I agree. I'm very excited that we agree with this. I did not see that coming.
Yeah, lots of hugs. You go through the movies, right? And which ones, there are some that pop up at you right away.
Yep.
That's the case with Lotso. And the big thing with him, for me, and for many people also, was the twist that it had.
Yes.
I didn't really see him being the villain, the antagonist and the main villain, and like in all its splendor. And he's a dark, hurt, bad guy. Everybody remembers Lotso because he's cute, and he has his little walking cane, and he comes in the truck, and you want that in a villain. You want that first thing that is like, it's all nice, all good, and then kapow! No.
I'm extremely excited that we agreed on this because it's one of those I felt so strongly about, but I was also so convinced that this was one we maybe wouldn't agree on. So it makes me happy. But consistent top 5 on lists of best, which I totally agree with. Personal opinion, easily top 3 Pixar villain, like best. Like as in like if you think of a truly good villain that is memorable, that is a fascinating antagonist to your heroes in the movie, Lotso has to be up there. I mean, I think he even transcends Pixar to the point of like, he's just a great villain. It's just a very good villain. Yeah. Top 5 easily and well-known, iconic, popular, I think. This is the 3rd movie. Somehow it feels like he might be more iconic than maybe even Sid, which is pretty impressive. And also back to that Pixar Villains wiki, he was number 5 on trending. Second oldest that were in the top 5. So number 2 through 4, because number 1 was Syndrome, but number 2 through 4 were all from newer movies. Okay. Number of 2 on Ranker for whatever it's worth. But now you have to go again because we have all 4 of mine. Yeah, we have all 4 of mine.
Okay, so this one is I didn't like that I had to pick.
You don't like the villain?
No,
you don't like that you had to pick it?
I think the villain is a good villain.
Okay.
But I don't know. I might be wrong. There is a little movie there that we keep forgetting called A Bug's Life. And it had a great villain. This is just a villain as we know him, just a terrible character, terrible person, Bug. And that's Hopper. I remember watching it and I was terrified by it, and I was a grown man already.
Easily the most intimidating.
Yes.
He always feels huge.
Yeah, they always have those low shots of him.
Yep.
And then the lighting also coming from the bottom that gives him that terrifying look.
And the noise whenever they're coming and stuff. Yeah, for sure. He's a relentless villain.
Right. And he has he doesn't care for little ants. He's just, I'm here. This is how the chain goes. I'm superior to you. Then you feed me or handle the consequences. And I think that also makes him for a good hero to come to the rescue, which was little Flick. Anyway, so that was my pick.
It's a good one. It is one of the 2 other ones that I was giving heavy consideration to. The other one being Ernesto de la Cruz. All right. Let us know what you think. Do you think we had any egregious misses? Do you agree with our list? Let us know what your 4 are down below in the comments. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, which you made it this far, so you probably did, drop that like. It helps us with the YouTube algorithm so more people can find and hopefully enjoy this content. We appreciate you. Be sure also to subscribe if you haven't already and you enjoy this content because we have it coming out every single Thursday. We will talk to you next time. His 5-minute backstory when the clown is telling how Lotso became the monster he is truly moving.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like it gets you. You're like, oh, I feel bad for him, but also he's a monster.
It's up to the same level of Jesse's story.